May I have your attention? We will kick off the second International Forum on Eco-Farming's opening ceremony momentarily. And today's forum is now providing simultaneous interpretation in English and Korean. So if you need interpretation service, please set your channel number 1 for Korean, number 2 for English. So if you do not find any interpretation services difficulties, please reach out to organizer's staff member nearing you. And also, there is a name tag on your table, so please wear your name tag so that you have a abundant opportunity for networking. Now we will kick off the opening ceremony of the second International Forum on Eco Farming at 3 p.m. So please be patient and thank you for your cooperation. Now, without further ado, we will kick off the opening ceremony of the Second International Forum on Eco-Farming. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Park Eun-young, announcer, and today's MC. Thank you very much. Actually, we are joined by many distinguished participants, and now we are going through the climate crisis. So, in response to climate crisis and in conservation of ecological diversity, ecofarming is in dire need as a sustainable solution more than ever. So, with a view to sharing appropriate knowledge on healthy food and to developing and spreading rural community model that coexist with nature based on eco-farming, International Network for Eco-Farming, or INEF, has born this year. And now we'll have the second edition of International Forum on Eco-Farming. So actually, we have picked dialogue with nature to respond to climate crisis as today's topic. So it's my great honor to be your MC today. And also, we have been joined by many distinguished participants from home and abroad. At the same time, we are joined by online participants. And on behalf of host and organizer Kim City AINEF, I would like to welcome all of you to the second International Forum on Eco Farming. Please give ourselves a big round of applause. And also, we have been joined by many distinguished guests on site as well. Actually, today's forum is going online with global audiences. So when I introduce your name, please wave your hands at the back of your camera. At the outset, we have joined by President Choi Tae-chul of INEF, International Network for Eco Farming. Please give him a big round of applause. And we are joined by Mayor Hong Tae-yong of Gimhae City. Welcome. And we have Member of National Assembly Min Hong-chul. Please give him a big round of applause. And we have joined by His Excellency Andrei Chernetsky, Ambassador of the Republic of Belarus in ROK. Welcome. And we have been joined by Chair Ryu Myung-yeol of Gimhae City Council. Please give him a big round of applause. And next, we have Chair Jeon Bum-yul, the Gimhae Citizens Promotion Committee and President of the Gimhae Eco-Friendly Farmers Association. Welcome as well. President Hwang Nam-gap of the Gyeongsang-Namdo Eco-Friendly Farmers Association also decorates today's conference with his presence. Now, Professor Kim Jae-won of Silla University and chairperson of the 8th Mayor Transition Committee is joining today as well. Please give him a big hand. And we have Secretary General Kim So-hee of Climate Change Center with us here. Welcome. And we have Cha Sung-soo, the director of the Civic Culture Experience Exhibition Hall. Please give him a big round of applause. And also we have been joined by Professor Emeritus Nakazumi Hiroyuki of Osaka Metropolitan University. Please give him a big hand as well. We are joined by many distinguished guests to decorate today's forum with their presence. And today's conference is carried out under the theme of Dialogue with Nature to respond to climate crisis. And actually, we are preparing for video for that. Please see them.
Unlike other planets, our planet has many diverse lives living on it. And the source of this beauty is none other than the Earth. Earth provides man food, clothing, and shelter. She allows humans to cultivate the land, and thus to create civilizations. One handful of Earth contains a great number of living beings, more than all the humans combined. Look at the land we are standing on. There's another universe deep inside the land, but this land with endless potential is now dying. Man's indiscriminate attack on Earth is coming back at us in the form of climate crisis. The worst situation is upon us. We're facing a crisis, and we need a solution to resolve it. Actually, the solution can be found near us. It's the eco-farming on the land we are standing on. We can recover climate balance and save the nature and humanity if we use eco-farming as a key. We need to live with the nature, not against her. In the International Forum on Eco-Farming, we study carbon-neutral agricultural policy, research for sustainable ESG business models, and listen to the voice of the field to make a society where humans and the nature coexist in harmony. Keynote session, Agricultural Policies for Achieving Carbon Neutrality. Expert Session 1, Forming a Strategic Partnership with Enterprises for Eco-Farming. Expert Session 2, Ecological Farming and ESG. Expert Session 3, Sustainable Economy and Rural Community. Healthy food for us, a safe place for animals. Eco-farming gives rest to nature and is with you. 2022, the Second International Forum on Eco-Farming.
Please give ourselves a big round of applause as well. And actually, the eco farming is a lifeblood for nature, and I notice you are noting. And now this is the video for promotional video of today's forum. And now would like to listen to greetings from our hosts and organizers. First, I would like to invite President Choi Jae-chul from INEF for his opening address. Please give him a big round of applause.
Distinguished guests from home and abroad, we warmly welcome all distinguished guests from home and abroad participating on and offline to the second International Forum on Eco Farming held at the Civic Cultural Experience Center in Bongha Village, Kimhae. We are holding this forum among the warmest encouragement of all who love ecological farming. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the Mayor of Kimhae City, Tae Young-hong, and the Chairman of the Kimhae City Council, Myung-yeol Liu, for your support and advice during the preparation. And also, I'd like to thank the lawmakers Min Hong-chul, who will participate in person, and the Jung-woo Kim, who will deliver his aid speech through the recorded video. And also my special thanks goes to the City Council members and officials in the Kimhae City Hall and the local residents, and also the Nomuhyun Foundation. So in each sessions, all the experts from home and abroad will participate as the speakers and the panelists, and I'd like to thank them. The theme of this forum is dialogue with the nature to respond to the climate crisis. We are now living in an era of climate crisis that is getting worse every day. Countries around the world are actively promoting policies to reduce greenhouse gas emission, including carbon dioxide and methane, and to adapt and mitigate climate disasters such as heavy rain and drought and typhoons. Globally, the agriculture and livestock sector emission account for 18 to 29% of the greenhouse gas emissions. Meanwhile, Korea's agricultural livestock sector emits around 3% of the country's total emissions. This amounts to 2.21 million farm households, which accounts for 4.3% of the total population. So emission per capita of the farm household is about 9.57 tons, which is lower than the average. Korea promised the international community in 2021 that it would reduce its greenhouse gas by 40% compared to 2018 by 2030. Agriculture and livestock sector needs to reduce 26% of 222 million tons, which means 5.86 million tons by 2030. The purpose of this forum is to find ways that agriculture can contribute to this 2050 net zero by reducing greenhouse gas emissions while guaranteeing the income of farmers. I believe that the eco-farming is one of the best solutions for that. Eco-farming is at the forefront of the sustainable agriculture that embraces low-carbon agriculture, such as organic agriculture and smart agriculture. So eco-farming can conserve biodiversity and restore soil to increase resilience to climate crisis. This cannot be done by rural community alone. It is something that governments, local governments, businesses, and civil society must join hands. At this 3-day forum, we expect all stakeholders to explore the value of eco-farming and also the ways to integrate them into the market economy. Lastly, I would like to express my deepest gratitude again to the supporters and the network secretariat staff who spared no effort for preparation of this forum. Thank you for your attention. So that was a very meaningful, the opening ceremony. Please give him a big round of applause again. Thank you very much. Then we will invite the host of this forum, the mayor of the Kimhae City, Taeyong Hong. He will deliver the welcoming message on behalf of 5,040,000 Kimhae citizens. Distinguished guests, home and abroad, nice to see you. I'm the mayor of Kimhae, Taeyong Hong. I'm delighted to host the second International Forum on Eco-Farming here in Bongha Village with the Golden Field under the title of Dialogue with Nature to Respond to Climate Crisis. I welcome all eco-farming experts from home and abroad who came here for the presentation and discussion. And I also thank Chairman of International Network for Eco-Farming, Jecher Che, and the related staff for your hard work. And I also thank lawmakers Hong Cheol-min and Jung Ho-kim for their messages through the video due to their national audit schedules, and also Myung-yeol Liu, the chairman of Kimhae City Council, and other city council members for attending this forum despite your busy schedules. I also try to thank the Dr. Hakyun Chung from the Korea, and also the Mr. Tobias Grass from the Danish Agriculture's Council. As you may well know, the Earth we are living now is suffering from climate crisis due to climate change, such as record high heavy rainfall in Seoul and heat wave higher than 50 Celsius degree in the US and the Europe this summer. Each country raises their NDC and adopts a carbon emission regulation, accelerating the realization of carbon neutrality to respond to climate crisis. Korea also to achieve 2050 carbon neutrality, making the eco-farming, which is the topic of this forum, as the very important pillar of that. Eco-farming is moving away from the nitrogen fertilizer and chemicals and producing less greenhouse gas compared to conventional agricultural technology. It produces healthy food and protects soil while reducing greenhouse gas emission. The value of the eco-farming is beyond description. Therefore, eco-farming is a very important response to the climate crisis and the reason why we have to continue to do so. Kimhae City will expand eco-farming with our Hwapo Stream wetland, which is a treasure house for endangered wildlife, and the Bongha Garden, which is the new nest for our stork, Gumi and Gwani. And also, this forum will be a platform where experts and the farmers participate in person to share the recent trends and the future vision of the eco-farming. I hope that this forum can spread the value of eco-farming and make people know about the eco-cultural experience contents of Hwapo Stream wetland and the Bongha Garden. The Kimhae City will do our utmost effort to meet our citizens' expectations. So once again, I'd like to thank all the people who worked so hard for this forum, and I wish all the best for all of you. Thank you very much.
Please give him a big round of applause again. That was the welcoming message from Mayor Hong Tae-yong from Kimhae City. And actually, I was able to witness the yellow farmland in nearing here, and that was a gift from the nature. And actually, that was a perfect fit for today's forum's background. And now we'd like to listen to congratulatory address. We'd like to invite legislator Min. Please give him a big round of applause. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And actually, now I am legislator Min Hong Chul from Kimhae constituency. And I am happy to be here at the second International Forum on Eco-Farming organized by INEF under the theme of Dialogue with the Nature. And congratulations again. At the same time, I feel proud of today's forum. My special thanks go to President Che for putting together this agenda, and my special thanks go to Mayor Hong Tae-yong and Liu Myung-yeol, Chair, as well as many distinguished panelists and presenters, home and abroad, for being here today. Actually, Pongha Village is known for Korea's 16th Korea president hometown, and actually this is a home to eco farming, and actually eco farming is utilized to help us to respond to climate change, and eco farming is origin and starting point for solution. But at the same time, Ponghae village has long been responding to the climate change with eco farming. It may no needs it may it didn't need introduction. After the interiorization, we witness a global warming of 1.2 degrees Celsius, but by 2050 we are going to be go carbon neutral as a goal. But at last session of G20 by 210, we are trying to limit the global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. This was a universal agreement, but actually 80 years for zero point 0.3 degrees Celsius. Actually, I was very doubtful for this to limit the global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. And actually, we have Hwapo Stream wetland with this beautiful nature, and I believe eco farming is a solution to very survival of our humanity. And I believe discussions on the eco farming will spring out from here at Ponga Village, which gives me a great sense of proud. And actually, eco farming is actually conventional agriculture techniques are one of the alternative to climate action. Of course, it goes slowly, but entire humanity can enjoy prosperity and survival with eco farming. Climate change needs no introduction in terms of its urgency, and it is not an option but a must. And also, climate action is all about our survival of entire humanity. So today, I believe this forum will be a new starting point, and eco farming will allow us to revision of our path toward the future with spirited and in-depth discussions and thought sharing. And once again, congratulations on the opening of the Second National Forum on Eco Farming with great meaning. And my special thanks go to all of you for being here today. I wish you all of luck and happiness in all your endeavors.
네, 여러분.
Please give him a big round of applause again. It was the wonderful congratulatory message. The response to the climate change is not an option but a must. That's very good message. Once again, I thank you for your wonderful message. Next, the Jong-woo Kim, the lawmaker of the Kim-hae, sent his congratulatory message through the video.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am member of the National Assembly Kim Jong-ho from Kim-hae constituency. I am eager to participate in person, but the audit of the government offices stopped me from joining the forum in person. Ask for your gentle understanding to meet you via video message. At the outset, congratulations on the successful opening of this year's forum on eco-farming despite challenging circumstances. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to President Choi Jae-chul of INEF and CEO Lee Bong-soon of E-Convention for putting this event together. My special thanks must go out to Mayor Hong Tae-yong and Dr. Cha Song-soo of Civiculture Exhibition Center for your unwavering support. The rapid industrialization gave a jump start to material wealth and civilization, but it also entails environmental degradation. Severe droughts, floods, typhoons, and wildlife are witnessed globally, which means the revenge of the nature exceeds the tipping point, threatening our very existence and survival. We only have limited window of opportunity for us to respond to climate change. As late as by 2050, we need to go carbon neutral and limit the global warming of 1.5 degree Celsius, of which those determinations and practices are not an option but a must for survival. That's why the role of eco-farming and recycling agriculture is of great importance in reducing CO2 emissions and curbing the global warming. In honor of President Nomeon's will, I have worked on various activities for 10 years, such as eco-rice cultivation, recovery of ecological stream, Hwapo Stream, and managing Ponghwa Mountain. As a farmer turned legislator, and in particular as chair of Carbon Neutrality Committee under the 더불어 민주 Party, I'm proud of International Forum on Eco-Farming being held at Ponghwa Village. I hope this forum will rise to the level of its version of Davos Forum in Switzerland in eco-farming sector over time. I wish all of you health and happiness in all your endeavors. I thank you.
Please give him a big round of applause again. Due to his National Assembly audit, he could not make it, but he sent a very warmest message to us. Next, we will see the video of the Myung-Nyul Ryu, the chairman of the Gimhae City Council. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
예, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 김해
Hello, everyone. I'm the Myung-Nyul Ryu, the chairman of the Gimhae City Council. Distinguished guests at home and abroad, we have the beautiful four lights on the green field of the Ponghwa village, and now we are here to hold the second International Forum of Eco Farming. I'd like to thank the chairman of the INEF, Che, and the related staff and officers for holding this event. And I also thank all the Taeyong Hong, the mayor of Gimhae, and other officials for your hard work. And we also have the Hong Chul-min and the Jung Ho Kim, the lawmakers, and Nam Gap Hwang, the lawmaker, and the chairman of the eco-friendly organization. We have Bum Yul-jeon, also the chairman of the eco-friendly environmental center. So I'd like to thank all for the participating. They are working so hard for this event and for this village. And we also have the Hak Kyun-jung, the doctor from the Korea Rural Environment Institute, Economic Institute, and also we have the Tobias Grass from the Danish Agricultural Council for their keynote speech here. So I thank you all. The earth is suffering from the climate crisis, and all the countries are trying to regulating the greenhouse gas emission for the carbon neutrality. So the eco farming is the solution to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and increase the profit of the farmers. Ponghwa village is the center for that, and the Gimhae city, the eco farming center is the pride of our Gimhae city. So we will work so hard to contribute to the carbon neutrality. And so please look at all the results we made outside on the green fields and the turning yellow-green field right now. So once again, I'd like to congratulate this international forum, and I hope that the Gimhae Ponghwa village will take an important role in these aspects. I wish all of you the health and happiness. Thank you.
생태
Thank you. He emphasized the importance of eco-farming, and please give him a big round of applause. And actually, a lot of distinguished participants put emphasis on the eco-farming, which requires multi-stakeholders and rural communities, not only from the government, central government, local government, civil society, and businesses, as well as the previous generation. But at the same time, we are joined by the youth, which shows great interest in eco-farming. And now we can meet youth supporters on screen. Please give them a big round of applause. Actually, we are now witnessing the youth supporters. Please wave your hands with each other and please give them a big round of applause. And the young supporters were selected via fierce competition for International Forum on Eco-Farming. They prepare for special performance. And as you're all aware of, UN SDGs has 17 goals and 169 targets to address universal issues of humanity, environmental, and social economic issues by 2030. And this is a globally agreed target and goals. A total of 50 supporters have set implementation of urgent actions to respond to climate change and its impact, SDG 13, as their goal. And now, new supporters are cheering for climate action. Please show and wave your pickets and cards. Please give them a big round of applause. And climate change and its impact will be addressed. And this is well related to SDG 13. Thank you very much. And next, SDG 15, protection and recovery of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainable forest management, prevention of desertification and land degradation, and biodiversity loss. Please wave your pickets and cards. Please give them a big round of applause. And the youth generation is now paying much attention to SDG 13 and 15. So they are preparing for this special performance on this regard. Last but not least, the supporters wrote down their thoughts on what is eco-farming to me or them. So please show your thoughts on the screen. So the meaning of eco-farming to the younger generation. So actually, you are now seeing the thoughts of the younger generation. There was a possibility, and this is life for future, and this is the sunshine on the table. So these beautiful thoughts are well witnessed, and it warms our heart. Please give them a big round of applause. So now we are having the last order of this opening ceremony, and ladies and gentlemen and previous generations and supporters will have a group photo session together. So please distinguish presentations on the first row. Please come up on the stage guided by our staff member. Please come up onto the stage. And also, are you able to hear me for online participants? Actually, please hold your pickets, SDG 13 and 15, climate action. Please show the picket cards for beautiful photo. We are joined by many distinguished guests and also viewers online and participants offline or inside are decorating today's forum in a hybrid manner. So actually climate change and its impact can be addressed with eco-farming. Now today's forum is an opportunity for us to map out potential possibilities and values of eco-farming. So please take off your masks momentarily to take a group photo. And so I say cheer up or fighting, please raise your right hand, and on my 1, 2, 3 count, please take your photo. So on my 3 count. So this is the last order of opening ceremony. Would like to have a VIP photo session. And second international forum on eco farming will be held for 2 days. This is an opportunity for us to revisit the value and a possibility of eco farming. Please give them a big round of applause. And actually, we had a group VIP photo session, and please get back to your seats. And now, without further ado, would like to have a keynote session.
발표 이후
So after the two keynote speeches, we have a panel discussion. So while we are arranging the podium, please wait for a while. The first keynote speech will be delivered by the Tobias Grass in Europe. He is connecting to the screen real time. He is the chief policy advisor of the Danish Agriculture Council. So he is waiting for us online Zoom. So shall we check whether he is on the screen or not? Tobias, can you hear us?
Good afternoon. Each here on your stage, please your keynote speech.
Thank you very much.
네, 연결이 된 것 같습니다. 그럼 지금부터 네, 기조 연설을
Then we will start the keynote speech from now on. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you very much. I hear an echo, but I will proceed. And I will proceed to share my screen with my presentation, and I hope that you will be able to see it. So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big pleasure for me to have this opportunity to address the second International Forum on Eco Farming. I'm Tobias Kreis, and I'm a Senior Policy Advisor to the Danish Agriculture and Food Council here in Brussels in our European office. We represent Danish farmers and some of the EU's major cooperatives in the field of especially dairy and pig meat, so the likes of Arla Foods and Danish Crown, globally oriented cooperatives. I'm also a counsel to what is called the Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry, which is a climate action partnership we have established in collaboration with farming organizations in Finland, the Netherlands, and the Dutch Agri-Development Agency, Agriterra, which has now partnered with the FAO. I will get back to that a little later in this presentation, which is titled Living in Harmony with Nature and Tackling the Climate Crisis. I hope that you now see on your screen in front of you a slide which shows the EU policy context. The EU Green Deal and the EU climate policy, which took the form of the EU climate law, that is the topic of this presentation, and its relationship with the common agricultural policy, the EU's common agricultural policy. It's important to set the framework clear. So the EU climate law is the EU's NDC in the UNFCCC context, so the nationally determined contribution from the European Union and its 27 member states. So we have here in Europe a legally binding, objective, which is now a requirement to become climate neutral by 2050. Net climate neutral. That is the revolutionary new aspect of the EU climate law, the net, because that opens the door up for removals. The discussion about the renewals, and as we shall see, the establishment of renewal efforts and likely credits. The EU climate law also sets the stage for net 55% reductions by 2030. So it's a very ambitious and we would say globally leading NDC. This climate law, of course, delivers on the Paris commitments, but as you know, the Paris process is a button-up approach. So it's also really delivering on a domestic, in the European sense of the word, demand from voters, which you see on your screen. There is a green magenta majority in the European Parliament. We have a very strong executive vice president, first executive vice president Franz Timmermans, who is the commissioner in charge and the vice president from the European Commission in charge of the European Green Deal, a social democrat who's delivering for his boss, the Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. And before we delve further into the climate law and its relationship also with the common agricultural policy, which is what I was asked to touch upon today, I just want to show you also the context of the Green Deal, or rather the scope of it. You see on the screen that it is a magnitude of proposals ranging from efforts that are really classical climate policy, the emission regulations, the emission trading system, to efforts in transport, the circular economy. There is a zero pollution action plan for Europe. And then you see on the right-hand side of the circle, the initiatives that touch upon the land sector in particular. So the farm to fork strategy, which in turn includes a number of proposals that are being tabled now. Some of them have already been tabled, the likes of pesticides, sustainable use of pesticides regulations, efforts to reduce use of pesticides, and also the nature restoration targets that are aimed at setting aside more land for biodiversity. So it's a quite holistic and comprehensive European Green Deal, where the EU climate law is center stage, and the European Deal is supposed to deliver on this target, which is now a requirement for climate neutrality in 2050, which in turn reflects the demand of a majority in the European Parliament. If we take a global look at the EU climate policy, it consists mainly of two parts. There is the common climate policy. It's not called that, but one can call it that. It's the emission trading system. That is the world's biggest market for trading of carbon credits, emission reduction credits. It's well functioning. It has inspired emission trading systems from Australia to California, and it sets a common European EU carbon price for industry. It delivers a market approach that secures, a market-based approach that secures that emission reductions are undertaken in a manner that is as cheaply as possible, which also is good for European competitiveness. Outside the ETS, the EU climate policy, unfortunately, is very fragmented. It's regulated by what is called the effort sharing regulation. That essentially is a regulation that divides what remains of the EU target in 27. Not in 27 equal parts, but rather in 27 different parts with different ambition levels, depending on mainly the GDP of of various European countries. And as I'm sure you might be aware of, still in Europe, although we have had a united Europe for some time now, there is rather significant GDP differences between, let's say, the member states such as Bulgaria and member states such as Luxembourg on the other extreme. So this is not a cost efficient policy framework. The Commission is well aware of that, and that is why it has proposed, and in the European and in Danish agriculture, we have been calling for this for some time now, and we are happy that it has proposed to try to on the one hand, to expand the ETS further, but also to propose a more unified approach to what is outside the ETS, and it has taken the form of a proposal for a land for an AFULU, so a land agriculture, forestry, and other land use, a land sector pillar in the EU's climate policy. This proposal is currently being debated in Europe when the Commission, which is the executive, proposes legislation. It is for the European Council as the one chamber and the European Parliament as the second and equal chamber to decide on this. And currently, negotiations between these two lawmakers are ongoing in view of possibly establishing such a land sector pillar after 2030. The Commission has also signaled that it is going to propose by the end of November this year a legislative proposal for a legislative framework for certification of carbon removals for agriculture and forestry. This is a very positive and welcome legislation, which is going to attempt to set unified European standard for what counts as efforts to remove carbon from the atmosphere by means of nature-based solutions. We hope that this will create kind of a gold standard, which can also ensure that the sometimes justified criticism from some actors that greenwashing could take place will not apply to the issue of removals. This issue, as we see it, is simply too important. We need to get what constitutes a removal credit, what constitutes a ton removed of CO2 right. We need, in our view, to have a technology-neutral approach where indeed the land sector can play a very important role, which is also something that we have foreseen, or rather, which the EU climate law has foreseen when it was adopted in Europe a year ago. In the EU climate law, it envisages carbon farming as, quote, a new business model. There is a political debate taking place here in Europe, which is whether this new business model should be subsidy-based or market-based. And now I'm getting closer to the issue of the Common Agricultural Policy, because the Common Agricultural Policy, the CAP as we call it, is a very significant EU policy instrument. For years, it was the biggest item on the relatively small EU budget. It has fallen now. It is now constitutes about 34% of the core EU budget, which is the multi-annual financial framework, the so-called MFF. That's one way to see this number. Another way to see this number is that since the pandemic took place, Europe further united and pooled resources together. Europe broke the taboo of common borrowing, so establishing the next generation EU recovery fund. And so the CAP constitutes some 19% of let's say, current EU expenditure in the sense of the MFF and Next Generation EU taken together. This is still a significant number. However, the EU budget is still rather small because we have 27 member states. So this amount only constitutes about 1% of EU and member state public expenditure. That is the size in real terms of the CAP. So we are arguing that this is a relatively small pot of public money, and that carbon farming is a very, very huge potential. So a market-based approach is needed in order to mobilize the private finance from industry and other actors to really support the green transition in agriculture. As we will also see on the next slide, which I'm going to show you here, the EU's common agricultural policy has some 9 objectives. So whilst climate action is one amongst these, and a very important objective, it's objective there number 4 from the top. This objective stands alongside other important objectives, such as environmental care and the preservation of landscapes and biodiversity. Also, there are 3, let's say, core objectives that have to do with more the social aspects of sustainability, fair income for farmers, efforts to rebalance the power in the food chain, and efforts to increase competitiveness. So the CAP serves many objectives. This is not just something that can be easily changed. It's indeed stipulated in the founding treaties. It's part of the CAP was mentioned in the 1959 Treaty of Rome. So in order to narrow down the scope of the CAP, that would actually also require some treaty change. We have seen with the latest reform of the CAP, which is going to be implemented from the 1st of January of next year, that there has been a slight renationalization of the common agricultural policy. It has taken the form of allowing individual member states more flexibility to deliver on these 9 objectives by means of so-called national strategic plans that each have to be approved by the Commission and deliver on a swap analysis of what is most needed in a certain member state. That means that each national strategic plan is not necessarily supposed to deliver on all these 9 objectives. It can choose. A swap analysis is supposed to determine which of these 9 objectives are the most pertinent one to deliver on, and then a member state will propose, the Commission will review, amend, the member states will resubmit, and finally the Commission is set to propose such national strategic plans. And of course, climate action also is set to be part of many such strategic plans. It's indeed the case in the Danish submission, which has recently been proposed and also adopted by the Commission. Carbon farming can be part of this. The new CAP allows for 25% of the expenditure to be used in so-called eco schemes that are incentive payments on top of the basic income support. And here one can imagine that that there might be incentives to stimulate the establishment of carbon farming. However, we are arguing alongside the European farming community that the actual payments for the tonnage of CO2 stored, here the pot is simply too small. The carbon price which the CAP would be able to provide to farmers for such efforts would not simply not be fair. It would be nowhere near the price that we could that we do anticipate by means of either private voluntary markets or indeed where there to be a regulatory market for carbon removals. And I think if I would like to, I mean, I would like before I'm mindful of the time that I have some minutes left, to leave you with also two perspectives on the importance of carbon farming and removals in the longer run. One being that increasingly, as we approach net zero, removals will become the thing, the talk of the town, because emission reductions do not make sense beyond, let's say, in the European case, 2040, when the target is climate neutrality. We need the removals in order to establish an emissions budget in the world of 2050, where the number of removals equals the emission capacity by industry. That is going to be, removals, we believe, are going to be scarce and in high demand. That's one key point. And the other key point we would like to share is the need for global collaboration. And that's also why I'm so glad to be with you today digitally in South Korea, because in the Danish Agriculture and Food Council, and I will show you this on the last slide, we really believe that partnerships are key to successful climate action in agriculture. We were amongst, if not the first farming organization in the world back in 2019 to unilaterally, together with our cooperatives, Arla Foods and Danish Crown, to sign up to a goal for climate neutrality in 2050 for the Danish food cluster. Back then, when we made this climate neutral mission, which you see there at the table, we said that we knew at that time we could see that we could make it about half the way with the toolbox that was at our disposal at that point in time. But we set out together with society to partner to find the other reductions, and we have been supporting the Danish government in what subsequently became a very ambitious domestic climate policy when the current government came into power 3 years ago and established a Danish reduction target for 2030 of 70%. I believe it's amongst the world's highest, if not the highest. Each sector was supposed to give recommendations, and we provided 24 recommendations to the Danish government. You see them there on the screen, on how to achieve this 2030 target of 70% reductions. We are still delivering on this engagement. We also went to our colleagues in Europe, and indeed we are part of the World Farmers Organization. We are part of the UNFCCC process. We participate at the annual COPs, the next one being in Egypt in a few weeks' time. And we set out and called for more climate finance for agriculture and forestry globally. Because we believe that we need to export and share know-how and technology we do have in Denmark and in other northern European countries in particular, and also in other, let's say, countries in the world where the notion of sustainable intensification of agricultural production has taken shape. We need to share these insights with colleagues in developing countries in order to globally achieve the goal of the Paris Agreement. And that is why you see there in the middle, we established what is called the Cooperative Partnership for Climate Smart Food and Forestry, where we have now, we're building, we believe in the power, the added value of cooperatives, this business model that our members incarnate, if you like, the farmers' own cooperative, because a cooperative is a business structure that sits in a strategic position at once above and below the farmer. It's able to guide otherwise fragmented smaller actors into joint action. I will give you the example that Arla Foods has just recently, last week, announced to its members, its owners, that those who really deliver extra on the climate smart check will get a higher milk price. So these are kind of incentives that drive the green transition, and we would like to share these. So we have partnered with colleagues, and the cooperative partnership has now partnered with the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, in order to establish a proposal for an adaptation project for in an East African country that we will submit to the Green Climate Fund that I'm sure you are aware of, because it's situated close to where you are in South Korea next year. So with this, I come to the end of this first presentation, and I will be looking very much forward to taking part in the discussions that are to follow. I put my email and Twitter at the top of this presentation, and those of you who would wish to contact me are very welcome to do so.
Thank you. 네, 여러분 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. Thank you, Tobias.
Please give him a big round of applause.
재미있는
That was a thought-provoking keynote presentation, and we are able to learn about the EU carbon neutral policies, which requires global collaboration and cooperation. And Tobias Grass will rejoin in the next panel discussion session. And without further ado, let me introduce to you our second presenter. Dr. Jung Hak-kyun is now a research director at KREI and served as a member of Sustainable Development Committee, and now serving as board of director of KEEA and standing director of Korean Association of Organic Agriculture. Please give him a big round of applause.
Good afternoon. My name is Ha-kyun Jung. As moderator introduced, I am working at Korea Rural Economic Institute. I research on climate change, carbon neutral, and environment-friendly agriculture. So there are many examples of eco farming, for example, environment-friendly agriculture, and low carbon agriculture, precise agriculture, and so on. So especially I am focusing on low carbon agriculture. So I will introduce to you our Korean policies and the instruments and the direction of policy. So I'm so happy and honored to give a presentation on the project subject of this title. The contents of my presentation as follows. First, greenhouse gas reduction goals in the Korean agricultural sector. Second, status of reduction instruments and associated policies. Third, a study on the acceptability of low carbon agriculture. Lastly, the direction of agricultural policy. Okay, let's move on. Chapter 1. As you know, our government declared the greenhouse gas goals by 2050. So our government also pronounced the Framework Act on Carbon Neutrality in 2021. So our agricultural sector also has the target by 2030, 5.8 million tons of CO2 equivalent, and by 2050, 8.2 million tons of carbon target. So if we adopt the low carbon agriculture, we face the crisis and opportunity at the same time. Of course, we adopt low carbon agriculture to achieve the greenhouse gas reduction target. But we have some critical factors such as threat to food security, increase in the cost of production, decrease in production, and so on. I think that we also have opportunity factors such as income generation, decrease in imports, increase in exports, decrease in fuel costs, and so on. So we should overcome critical factors. At the same time, we activate the opportunity factors. Chapter 2, I will introduce to you about our Koreans' reduction instruments and associated policies. This picture shows you a definition of reduction instruments. Intermittent irrigation, shallow irrigation in rice field, reduction of nitrogen fertilizer, supply of biochar, and so on. So high efficiency energy facilities, agricultural machinery, and so on. Before we adopt related policies, we must diagnose those reduction instruments. Let's set an example of shallow irrigation. So we check monitoring, emission coefficient, applicable unit, cost of performance, and so on. So for shallow irrigation, we concluded that monitoring is able to simplify, and the instrument has emission coefficient, and we can apply the instrument to farmhouse or area. So if we diagnose of those instruments, we can carry out policies related to greenhouse gas reduction very properly, sophisticatedly. So it's very important for us to diagnose those instruments. This picture showed our policies, associated policies. We have three kinds of policies for reduction, carbon reduction. First one is the voluntary reduction project. This project supports farmers who adopt low carbon agriculture by cutting the fertilizer, energy, and the pesticide. In the case, our government supports the farmers 10,000 won per ton. And the second is accreditation system. This system also supports farmers and consumers. So if our farmers adopt low carbon agriculture and reduce the use of fertilizer and materials. In the case, our government support the distribution of the crops. And if our consumers purchase those products, in the case, the consumers receive the incentive, the green point. So our government activate the policies related to green crops and green products. And the lastly, I want to speak about the emission trading system. On the basis of emission trading system, our farmers have the external business. So on the emission trading system, our farmers sell the amount of reduction, greenhouse gas reduction, and the business corporate bought the amount of reduction, greenhouse gas reduction. So efficiently, we can curtail or cut the greenhouse gas. Overseas, EU, US, Japan also has the policies which support farmers who adopt low carbon agriculture. For example, EU agricultural sector has the carbon neutrality target, and the target is legally binding by adopting the European Climate Act. CAP continuously expand support for climate change mitigation in the agricultural sector. USA and Japan also has policies which support farmers who adopt low carbon agriculture. So our institute surveyed the farmers about the acceptability of low carbon agriculture. So we surveyed general farm population, so the awareness of climate change and the intention to accept farmers by technology and the activation of the use of reduction instruments. So I am focusing on intention to accept technologies this time. So 82.4% of farmers want to adopt intermittent irrigation in rice field. In contrast, 23.3% of farmers want to adopt multi-layer thermal insulation. So the technology is very diverse, but the intention is also diverse according to technologies. Main reason for low acceptability is worried about increased production, cost, and unaware of technology, and the burden of initial installation costs, expensive processing costs. These factors affect farmers negatively to adopt those technologies. We also surveyed farmers participating in the support program, 3 kinds of supporting program. So we surveyed the awareness of climate change, support program awareness, and the factors participating in the support program, and difficulties of farmers participating in support program, and measures to revitalize low carbon agriculture. Especially this time, I want to focus the difficulties of farmers participating in support program. They responded that they have a difficulty in preparing business registration and certification data. So many farmers feel it is very difficult. So we should support them by simplifying the preparing those documents. Lastly, I want to show the direction of agricultural policy under the target reduction target. We can consider basic directions such as customized program, promotion by phase, delivering economic incentives, and the promotion and training establishment of infrastructure. So next page I will explain in more in detail. First, I will explain to you direct payment for carbon reduction instruments. As you know, and I explained to you, our farmers do not want to adopt those green technologies or low carbon agricultural technologies because if they adopt those technologies, they face low productivity and low quality of crop, and the initial high investment cost. So our government should support our farmers who adopt those technologies. So we can consider direct payment. And I propose some carbon reduction instruments such as picture. There are some instruments. For example, water management has two instruments, intermittent irrigation, shallow irrigation, and farmland also has some instruments, minimum tillage, the reduction of nitrogen fertilizer, biochar, reduction of the use of compost fertilizer, and so on. So we adopt or we choose these instruments, and then we must set the unit price. So we must support our farmers properly. So we calculate the exact unit price based on additional costs and income loss. We can increase unit price with minimum allowable assistance or reduction assistance under WTO regime. And lastly, we should consider monitoring. If we check our farmers adopt those technologies, and they, in reality, they carry out those technologies in their farming, so we must check. Application of monitoring method suitable for characteristics of methods. For example, intermittent irrigation case, our farmers can send a proof of behavior portal for the intermittent irrigation. So in this case, it's very simplified, not complicated. So it's very useful monitoring method. And we consider improvement of low carbon agricultural support program. As I explained to you, we have three kinds of support program, but the amount of carbon reduction is very small. So we enhance or improve those support program. For example, agricultural enterprise cooperation projects, simplification of document preparation, market differentiation of low carbon agricultural and livestock products, and the promotion of certified products. For example, agricultural enterprise cooperation projects, we can think that farmhouse are difficult to have capital investment, and the enterprise should cut or reduce their greenhouse gas. So if enterprise support the farmers in investment cost or operation cost, in the case our farmers adopt those technologies and cooperation through cooperation projects, we can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. This picture showed changes in farming activities after participation in support program. 51.4% of farmers told that reduce energy costs, so through voluntary reduction project, and 53.8% of farmers also told that they reduced energy costs through external project. Research and development is also very, very important to achieve greenhouse gas reduction target. So low methane feed, nitrogen reduction in excreta, high efficiency energy facilities, smart livestock shed, identifying the state of carbon shortage. These technologies is needed to develop our research. And we also consider establishment of a specialized response center for climate change. In the case of EU, we can see the agricultural knowledge innovation system. The system established a problem map for farmers in each country from 2009 and provide advice to farmers on climate change mitigation and adaptation, biodiversity and water resource protection, and so on. And it is needed to establish a specialized response center to support climate change. So we can build big data to manage current data, testbed function to demonstrate technology. This picture showed a conceptual diagram of climate data construction and dissemination. So we can gather many data from many authorities. So we processed those data and we can give the customized data to our farmers and specialists and civil servants and so on. So we can respond to climate change effectively and mitigation and adaptation. Lastly, I want to focus on establishment of a system for calculation, reporting, and verification. This system is very, very essential to achieve greenhouse gas reduction target. And furthermore, we should build reliable statistics to support the MRV systems. And advance of calculation methods is also needed. We should improve the national greenhouse gas inventory system to evaluate the implementation of greenhouse gas reduction. Thank you so much for your attention.
네, 여러분 발표해 주신
So let's give them a big round of applause again to the speakers of the presentations. So that was the second keynote speech, and he talked about the future direction of the agricultural technology for the responding to the climate crisis. So as a panelist, he will join again. So let us arrange the stage again, and we will see you in 5 minutes.
네, 잠시 안내 말씀.
May I have your attention, please? So after the keynote speech, we will start the panel discussion soon. So while we are arranging the stage, I'd like to ask all of the participants to be seated. And also, I'd like to ask the panelists to come up to the stage and be seated on the chairs arranged for you on the stage.
네, 여러분.
Okay, thank you for your patience. Following the two keynote speech, now we will start the panel discussions. Let me introduce the panelists first. As the moderators, we have the Jecher Choi, the chairman of the INEF. And next to him, we have His Excellency Ambassador of Belarus, Andrei Chernetsky. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. And next to him, we have a second keynote speaker, Dr. Hakyun Chung from the Korea Rural Economic Institute. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. And next to him, we have the Jui Yoon, the professor of the Environment Resource Economic from the Dankook University. And then we will have the Secretary General of the Climate Change Center, So-hee Kim. Please welcome her with a big round of applause. So we will start. We also have the Mr. Tobias Grass, the Chief Policy Advisor of the Danish Agricultural Council. Would you wave your hand if you can hear us? Okay, great. Then I will hand over my microphone to the Jecher Choi, who is the moderator for this session. Nice to see you all. I am the moderator of the panel discussion, Jecher Choi. So I prepared some speech, but already two speakers had a wonderful presentation. So I directly asked the question to our panelists. So
패널리스트 발표 순서는 먼저 우리
each panelist will have the 5 minutes. So the ambassador will start first, and then we will go in the order of the seats you are sitting. And then I will ask the question to the Mr. Tobias and then the Dr. Chung. So you have 5 minutes. The Ambassador Andrei Chernetsky.
Okay, thank you so much, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to be here as a guest of such a representative international forum dedicated to one of the most important issues for humanity. And I'm honored to share with you some brief information regarding Belarusian sustainable agriculture and stage of development for eco-farming in my country. To begin with, I would like to underscore that agriculture is not only an important sector of Belarusian economy nowadays, it is responsible for the country's food security and export potential. It represents the traditional way of living for population of the land of Belarus who all started occupation were farming, cattle and hunting. The importance of agricultural sector is still preserved. Contribution of agriculture to the country's GDP amounted to 5–6%. The sector comprised over 1,400 agricultural enterprises and 3,000 farms. More than 266,000 people out of the total population, around 9.8 million, are employed in agriculture. The total land area in agricultural turnover is almost 9 million hectares, or more than 40% of country's territory. One inhabitant of Belarus accounts for 0.9 hectares of agricultural land, including 0.6 hectares of arable land. 23% of the country population lives in rural areas. Belarusian cool climate and dense soil are well suited to fod the crops which support herds of cattle and pigs, and temperature zone crops, wheat, barley, oats, buckwheat, potatoes, flax, and sugar beets. Per capita, agricultural output in Belarus is one on the level with the developed countries and in many aspects surpasses results of the CIS countries. The Belarusian food sector not only fully satisfies the domestic demand, but also is one of the country's main sources of revenue in foreign currency. In 2021 year, Belarus export of food products and agricultural raw materials totaled $6.7 billion, up to the 17.3 over 2020. At present, the Republic of Belarus is one of the world's leading producer of food. It exports considerable amount of some food varieties. In 2020, it is the world's fourth largest exporter of skimmed milk powder, the seventh largest exporter of butter, the ninth largest exporter of whole milk powder, the 10th largest exporter of cheese and cottage cheese. Belarus is among the world's 5 leading flax linen manufacturers. The importance of agricultural sector for the country economy determines the need for comprehensive development based on advanced eco-friendly technologies. Key components of agricultural development of agricultural sector is smart farming. In the last 10 years, great importance has been attached to the organic farming, focused on improving food security, ecology, and incomes of the small-scale farmers. The importance of smart farming is in improving crop yields through more efficient use of natural resources and inputs, as well as better management of land and the environment issues. And also, decreasing of greenhouse emission is also up to this issue. In the Republic of Belarus, efforts in the sphere of smart farming and organic farming are being implemented in 2 directions, at the governmental level and at the practical level. At the governmental level, for the implementation of smart farming, Belarusian concerned authorities adopted an action plan for the implementation of a comprehensive future project, Precision Farming. To create conditions for the implementation of organic farming, legislative framework has been created that regulates activities in the field of organic agriculture. In 2018, Belarus entered a group of countries with such a legislation. Let's consider how these new agricultural technologies have been introduced in Belarusian practice. The main reason why the potential of smart agriculture has not yet been realized is not because technologies and ideas don't exist. They do exist and are available, but sometimes it is a lack of coordination and consistency in integrating technologies to facilitate data transfer. Standardization of digital technologies from data collection, formats and interfaces to optimization and interconnection across the entire supply chain is essential to realizing potential smart farming offerings. To achieve these goals, the concept of digital platform precision farming was developed in 2021. Main purpose of it is to provide information support, planning and business activities based on the operational management of technological process in crop production. Under this platform, a software pilot project Digital Field is being conducted in Belarus by Belarusian companies, Technologies of Agriculture, together with Belarusian Cloud Technologies. This project aimed at creating a digital twin of an agricultural enterprise and gives the possibility to build a geospatial base that includes the contours of field, data of cultivated lands, the results of soil analysis, monitoring of crops, the history of cultivated crops, operations, and the use of equipment aggregates, raw materials and materials of enterprise, planning the economic activity, etc. So all these things are basic for the smart farming, and model of the digital feed helps us to understand how we could reach more efficient farming, more ecologically friendly farming, and we just now, the main challenge is to attract this culture to our farmers. The importance of organic farming is of particular importance for the green economy. The government of Belarus has pursued a path towards a green economy since 2004. It developed the document National Strategy for Sustainable Socio-Economic Development 2030, focusing on sustainable development, introduction of green economy, sustainable consumption and production. The National Action Plan for the Green Economy, adopted in December 2016, aims to enhance development of the organic agriculture sector, promote and regulate energy-efficient construction and development of renewable energy, promote green government expenditures by revising the public procurement law, stimulating ecotourism, and promote public participation and education for sustainable development. Organic farming is being successfully developed at the level of small farms. With support from the government, many farmers are actively expanding their production capabilities for growing blueberries, cranberries, strawberries, producing meat and dairy products. Markets for organic farms products have been created in large cities to enable the farmers to sell their products and to facilitate access to environmentally friendly products for urban residents. I would like to underscore these things once again. The previous speaker also told that sometimes it's difficult to attract farmers to use more ecologically friendly technologies, societally, because of some economic reason. But what is the main challenge for the government and the local authorities? First of all, it's necessary to create the proper means of facilitate access for the farmers to the markets, and the main customers of the eco-farming products certainly is the urban population. And if we facilitate the access of the small eco-farming products to the urban population, I think it would attract the farmers to increase the use of eco-friendly technologies. And how we could do this? First of all, by advertising the not only eco-friendly technologies, but also the healthy way of nutrition, the healthy products, and among advertising this, we could help our eco-farmers to get more revenue from the activity and so make them more interested in promoting eco-activities in their life. So successful implementation of the concept of smart farming and organic agriculture will save up to 25% of resources and create conditions for the production of environmentally friendly agricultural products. That's all what I would like to briefly inform you about the sustainable development of agriculture in Belarus. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your very insightful presentation. It is a wonderful opportunity for us to understand the diversity of agriculture in Belarus as well as its global relevance. The next speaker is 소희 김. 저 5분 드릴게요. 가급적이면 좀.
So next is Sohee Kim. So I will give you the 5 minutes. So please introduce your center. Nice to see you all. I'm Sohee Kim from the Climate Change Center. So we talked about the EU's the agricultural policy and the Belarus policy, but Climate Change Center is a civic organization. From 2013, we are working for the civil communication for the climate change. So from the different perspective, I will talk to you about the communication with the MZ generation. So for the 2030 generation, we are doing the various activities in our center. So in the next forum, I hope that we can discuss this eco farming with the Zen generation, millennial generation. So the 2030 generations takes up around the 33% of the total Korean populations. And then they are the main generation who will be directly involved in the climate change and who will make the change for our future. So they have a very urgency in terms of the climate crisis. So when we talk about the climate crisis with the MZ generation, so the eco farming is also important, and this is a very good opportunity to spread the news about the eco farming to the generation. So in order to do such kind of activities, we are running the Climate Tools College. We have so many MG generation working together. It is not just the learning or the education. They propose idea, they suggest idea, and they come up with the new campaign action to share and to spread them to the society. So as you see on the slide, on the circle, so you can see some the talk like a performance or the kind of the getting together, so that we can have the deep in-depth discussion with the MZ generation about the marine pollutions and the climate response, so that they can go to their college and talk with the president or the dean of the college. So please make this kind of activities as a benchmark for the eco farming. I believe that this can be the good roles or the good example for you to implement the eco farming in reality in the people's life. So if you can provide some experimental or the experience hands-on activities to the MZ generation, I believe that this can become a real life or real habit for the civil citizens. So the policy is important. However, when the MZ generations they have a hands-on experience on the eco farming, there's a high chance for the eco farming to become a life habit of the people. And we have the bookstore and the famous coffee shops, and you can see these magazines. This is the very famous magazine we are publishing. This is a free magazine about the environment we are publishing. So they are providing this kind of message to the society using lots of media, and so this is one of the opportunity we provide to the MZ generation so that they can communicate with the people about the climate crisis. So almost time is up. I have I introduce myself to the people in front of me. Those are people who are actually doing the work in the field. So I believe that they have to have a Q&A session with the MZ generations. By doing so, we can promote the eco farming more, and I expect that this can happen in the next forum next year. And before that, maybe you can make some activities with the universities in the local area so that you can spread the news about the eco farming.
Thank you. Actually, in the next year's forum, we would like to invite two CEOs with Gen Z participation for Q&A session. Definitely, you have my words. And Secretary General Kim So-hee's presentation taught me that recently in Japan, there was a book which talks about the rural community. So the limited rural communities are fully revitalized through the influx of younger generation, which leads to changes in the adjacent cities. So that was the book titled Raid of the Rural Community. Actually,
재생전기
the younger generations are fully involved in not only farming but also in digital related technologies to revive the local agriculture community. So that was the title of book, Backlash of Rural Communities to the City Urban Life. That was the book title that I read. Thank you very much. And without further ado, I will give 5 minutes to Professor Yun.
Hello, everyone. Last year, I talked about the importance and the value of the eco farming. And at that time, Tobias and the French person said that the carbon farming has the capability to sequestrate the carbon, and if we have the mixing agriculture, we have a high possibility of the reduction of the emission. That was talked last year. So in order to emphasize the importance of the eco farming. But this year, we are talking about the carbon neutrality and the agricultural policy. So the value of the eco farming was understood, and we have to make a policy for that. So that's why we have the Dr. Zhang and also the Dr. Tobias Grass from the Denmark. So listening to their presentations, I agreed a lot of things to them. And the Dr. Zhang said that we have not only crisis but also opportunity. And in terms of the carbon reduction for the emission in the EU, they had like a legal binding forces. And also the Mr. Tobias said that EU's budget. He talked about the importance of the EU budget and the capability building. That's the core of the new carbon neutrality, he said. And the special thing is that the European countries also have subsidies for the farmers. So they have a lot of consideration, and maybe he said also they can be the new business model. And that gives a lot of suggestion for the Korea too, I think. And Dr. Chung is a very expert in this area. But last December, the Korea government announced the roadmap for the carbon neutrality. The Ministry of the Agriculture said that by 2050, the agricultural and the food system will reduce the carbon emission by 30% to align with the carbon neutrality target. Then we need a new strategy to implement or achieve that goal. As Dr. Chung said, we need a diagnosis of the current status. So we need to have the more specific the measures for the inventory, carbon inventory, and the MRV system. And the most important thing is that the structural change of the agricultural industry. We have the precision farming and the smart farming. Of course, we can do that through the digital transformation and the technology. And also, the current government is emphasizing that area to create the jobs and give the incentives to the youth farmers so that that they can use the digital transformation in the agricultural sectors. Especially the AI and IoT will be used for the precision farming. So we also have the innovation valley for the smart farming in Korea too. So looking all those trends, the productivity and the labor force is the area which receiving the consensus from the society. However, the result is important, but the smart farming policy should not destroy the balance of the nature and the ecosystem. So the direction of the policy should go, of course, for the profit and the productivity. However, we need to keep our biodiversity and prevent the soil degradation because that can cause the red signal for the climate crisis. So not only the profit and or productivity, but also the biodiversity and the ecosystem should be emphasized together. So even though we go for like AI or the smart farming, but we need to consider our ecosystem and the environment so that we can continuously have a sustainable agriculture sector. And as the ecological farming, we are talking about the change in the low carbon agricultural structures. We talked about the eco farming a lot, but the eco-friendly farming became the buzzword in the agricultural sector. The organic farming or the eco farming is very difficult to achieve as the farmers because we don't have the certificate regulation. So eco-friendly farming, I believe that includes the eco farming. So I'd like to emphasize the eco farming is more important than the eco-friendly farming. By 2050, we have to expand the 30 up to the 30% the eco-friendly farming. So target is a very nice. However, we need to see the budget allocation for this goal because I could not see any the strong will of the government looking at the budget. In the roadmap of 2050, we can see the high targets to expand the agricultural subsidized center. However, looking at the budget next year, we cannot find any allocation for those kind of centers. So it is very doubtful whether the government has the strong will for that or not. We always say that the consumption lead the production. So when we only have the consumption of the eco-friendly product, we can increase the production. So that's why we studied to come up with the measures to increase the consumption. So we suggested many ideas for that. There was a very popular policy. However, we cannot find this kind of the policy in next year's budget. So I believe that this budget allocation do not align with the government policy direction. So without the strong budget backup for the program, I think we cannot make our goal for the eco farming.
And also with regards to GHG reduction targets, actually Dr. Jung has numerously talked about the GHG emission target, how cut target. But when it comes to this reduction target, actually rice cultivation or livestock are also emitting methane. But GHG reduction target requires a lot of activities from the current rural institute with technology developed or other irrigation related technologies. The various activities are witnessed, and also lower methane fertilizers are now underdeveloped at livestock industry level. But actually, we need to think about acceptability at the practical level for farmers. So the acceptability of farmers is of great importance. Farmers are paying attention to carbon neutrality and GHG reduction target. However, at the same time, cost issues, production issues are entailed, which means there might be lead to lower acceptability among farmers. So we need to think about how to increase the public awareness on this issue for farmers as well. Now, but we are at infant stage, so this is the reason why. But 2030, 2050 targets are set, so we have a lot to be considered. In particular, the livestock industry, with regards to this, actually the odor issues or the manure issues are now creating social issues and complaints, and the feed or methane are also one of the issues that are hated by social citizens, and also the foreign literatures and data or statistics are highly dependent here in Korea, and we are tending to refer to such statistics on a global level, such as the Netherlands statistics or and so forth. However, there might be some discrepancies between Korean practicality and those countries' practicality. So this might lead to damage to farmers if we adopt policies without any further reviewing on the global statistics. And ETS, emissions trading system, was talked about by Dr. Chung. The EU is also active on this issue, and the acceptability of farmers for ETS and their participation is one of the issues on our priority agenda. So we have carried a lot of projects for this, but the farmers still show lower participatory level with regards to these projects addressed by Dr. Chung. Regulations or streamlined documentation or cost or times are all entangled here. So this serves as a challenge for facilitating ETS scheme. So we need to come up with measures with best practices. ESG governance is one of the importance to business owners. So there might be collaborative project between farmers and business agricultural enterprises. So that is one of something that we need to talk. But the bottom line here is that the policies should be consistent no matter who achieves the ruling party or achieves the presidency. So we have well-established roadmap, but after Yoon's administration, there might be differences in budget allocation or the policy directions for rural areas. There is a room for improvement further and further, but the carbon neutrality and sustainable eco-farming are great areas with great meaning. So we need to pay much attention to this. As I mentioned previously repeatedly, eco-farming or eco-friendly agriculture policies should be gotten into the mainstream. Now it's time for us to make a paradigm shift in agriculture policies. So we need to transition toward the eco-farming era. Then this requires strong willingness from the government level, but without this we are not able to achieve 2030-2050 target, so which requires all the consensus among multi-stakeholders with great interest. And this wraps up my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're the passionate and the wide range of the topic. So the ecological aspect of the smart farming and the consistency of the policy. So all the important message were delivered by the Professor Yun. I will give the question to the speakers, keynote speakers.
I think the key is how to incentivize the eco farming. Do you think a voluntary carbon market can play a catalytic role in promoting eco farming?
Well, I would like to respond to that. And the answer is yes, it can. It can play a role to incentivize eco-farming because the market-based approach is the way to go. It was mentioned by the previous speaker that eco-farming is more important than eco-friendly farming. It was also said that budgets are pressed, and that is true, I believe, in this day and age for many countries all over the world, which is also going to have an impact on the agricultural budgets. So there is a limit to the scope of the subsidy-based agricultural policy. And this is why we are arguing so forcefully for a market-based approach, because carbon farming really has a huge potential if and when the new sources of income from the buyers of these credits will be unleashed. And the question is then to ask, which kind of product are we selling? Are we selling a credit that is solid and can be used for CSR purposes to say that a product is climate neutral? That would have one cost and one price. Or are we selling, and that is, if we were to go towards regulatory markets, really a pollution credit, where we would sell an offset that would allow industry to keep producing, which would have a higher price.
Thank you very much for your positive answer. 다음은 우리 정학균 박사님께.
And I'd like to throw a question to Dr. Chung. So actually, we are talking about eco-farming, but actually it's very difficult to be achieved and practiced. So the government should provide support program here. So actually there should be differentiate between the eco-farming products and the traditional products. Is there any plan for government side? Can you elaborate on this issue? Actually, green technology producing products are categorized as low carbon agricultural products, and also eco-friendly can be one of the category here. But the differentiation for this agriculture requires certification system, and the certification system with regards to eco-friendly products shows the price differentiation. So those kind of two categories are given 1.2 or 1.5 times higher cost in the market. However, the low-carbon agri products are not able to enjoy the market differentiation and unique treatment. So what is important here is that when we produce crops, we need to consider and evaluate or calculate the CO2 carbon emissions reduction. But we have a long way to go for this issue. And one more thing to add. Actually, Professor Yoon and Secretary Kim eloquently put it, in particular with regards to government policies and consumption, low carbon culture and eco farming should be expanded with government policies and supports. And Professor Yoon once said that the government allocation of budget shows discrepancy with the target set by our roadmap. But in my opinion, actually, we have to strike a great balance. So I would like to emphasize here and
your commentation. 네. So especially I missed the core benefit of mitigation technologies, especially if we estimate the core benefit of green technologies, we can have the funding, good funding. So we needed to estimate the core benefit of green technologies. For example, intermittent drainage. In the case, we can, of course, reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, we can cut or reduce the water use. So we can estimate the exact the core benefit. In the case, we can have the funding from our government. Thank you.
Okay, you may continue to communicate for further follow-up at later. Well, 지금 이제 저희가 시간이 너무 많이 늦어졌습니다. 그래서
We are far behind the schedule, so I'd like to talk with you more, but I think we have to wrap up with this for the panel discussion. So I'd like to thank all the panelists for joining this panel discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Let's give ourselves a big round of applause. And to the panelists, let's give them the big round of applause. So, for the opening of the International Forum on Eco Farming, so I'd like to thank you all for participating. And let me give you the brief introduction of tomorrow's sessions. Tomorrow, we will have the forming a strategic partnership with the enterprises for eco-farming. And we will have a second session, ecological farming and ESG, and the session 3, sustainable economy and rural community. So I'd like to ask your participation and the interest. Thank you very much.